Hello everyone and welcome back to Affinity for Commander, where today we're taking a look under the bed and seeing what monsters lurk there as we build Valgavoth from the Endless Punishment Commander deck. Just before we start, as always, if you like any of the cards you see here today, then please be sure to make your purchases through our lovely affiliate links in the description box below. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but really helps channel out quite a lot. And as always, all prices you see here today are provided by our amazing sponsor, the fabulous cardmarket.com. Now, let's take a look at the big spooky scary himself. Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls is a 4/4 flying elder demon for 2 generic mana, 1 black and 1 red. They have Ward for pay 2 life and read. Whenever an opponent loses life for the first time during each of their turns, put a +1/+1 counter on Valgavoth, Harrower of Souls, and draw a card. So we have a revamped Obnyx from New COPPA, with the major changes being a loss of trample, boo, but now we're drawing cards, yay. The damage has to be in that player's turn, and it's only once, boo. It can be any amount of life though, yay. They also come with Ward that helps trigger their ability, yay. Now, I am not saying that Val is better than Obnyx. What I am saying, however, is they can have much a more varied deck style and much more varied card pool, as we're not limited by that one single ping of damage. We can instead have much more fun with this deck. But as far as our Val deck goes, we're going to be making it on the cheaper budget side. No card over €10, and we of course will be sticking with the old moniker. One being that we're here for a good time, not necessarily a long time. At the 1 and 2 drops, we've got our artifact ramp with the usual soul ring, signets, and then the talismans of Indulgent and Thought Vessel, which are running a bit more of than usual because we want Val out quickly to start drawing back our cards, which Dark Ritual also helps with very well. Plus the Vessel lets us avoid having to discard down to hand size. We're then running some cards to keep our commander on the field in Not Dead After All and Malakia Rebirth to bring back Val just in case someone gets rid of them. And also Return the Favour and the Untimely Malfunction to redirect or copy any of these removal spells. Plus Tybalt's Trickery, because who doesn't love counter magic in black-red? Now, let's get on to the myriad of ways of making our opponents lose life and thus drawing us cards, and also, making Val huge to swing in for with, further life loss. Keterit Parasite means with Val or anything else red out, that's a guaranteed point of damage each turn, and thus a card for us. This effect is also seen on Razorkin Needlehead. And if our opponents want to play a lands or have anything to do with the grave, then Angth of Mishra and Bloodchief's Ascension work very well. And it is at this point that I do kind of have to point out that we do run the Bloodchief and the Mindcrank combo for several reasons. Number 1 being, I like combos. Number 2 being, these are 2 pieces in the deck that, even separate from each other, do actually work and make sense within the confines of our deck's strategy. Number 3 is that we aren't actively tutoring for these cards. They're not our primary way of winning the deck. In fact, there aren't any tutors in the entire deck apart from, certain fetchable lands. And finally, the Ascension is so slow that when you do eventually get it set up, it's been seen coming from at least a country mile away, so people should have been preparing for this and have their answers ready, if not already gotten rid of it. So I feel it is both fair, fun, and also cheap. Back to the damage dealers, however. Creeping Bloodsucker for general hits and life gain for us. Harsh Mentor to punish activated abilities. Magebane Lizard to really hose any Storm or Spellslinger decks. And Thermo Alchemist for an on-demand ping. So 2 cards I adore. Rakdos Charm for its versatility, with the last mode usually just being a giant pile of damage. And finally, Price of Progress. We're running a lot of basics, and honestly, you've not lived until you've dealt someone 20 damage because they just decided to have a decent mana base in a 5-color deck. It is just perfect. no notes. Now up to the 3 drops, and let's start with some enchantments that really show we want to be having this game through pretty quickly. Citadel of Pain, Descent into Avernus, and Spell Shock all deal damage to our opponents in various ways. The Citadel does it for how much mana they keep up and triggers in the end step, so importantly it will trigger Val. Descent into Avernus I'm 50-50 on including, as it does break my cardinal rule of giving my opponents resources, but we're drawing hopefully enough cards to make up for it. And Spell Shock just shocks anyone whenever a spell is cast. And speaking of damage on casting of spells, Gleeful Arsonist, Rug of Smothering, and Scytheclaw Raptor all deal damage to our opponents for having the audacity to try and play the game. With the Rug just really hating out any deck that wants to drop their hand quickly. But if creatures were to happen to die, as is quite often the case in Commander, Judith the Scourge Diva pings any target when something of ours dies, Mayhem Devil pings whenever a player sacrifices a permanent, and Rampaging Froston hurts the table when they play a creature and stops any pesky life gain too. The last 2 cards at 3 CMC are our card advantage outside of our commander. Florian, Voldaren Scion should be letting us look at a good chunk of our library, especially if we're hitting him with our commander as well. And Light of the Stage is just a nice obvious choice for that spectacle cost to get some cheap impulse draw. Up to the 4 drops, and we're not finished with permanents that deal out damage. Fate Unraveler to punish card draw, Mana Barbs to punish using your mana, and Mogus God of Slaughter to punish you for having an upkeep. The audacity, really. We're also running means of increasing this damage with Furnace of Wrath and Ogier Axonil Deepest Might, who turns all our pings of damage into a tidy 4 points instead. Sunspine Lynx can come in for a healthy dose of damage to players with a well-to-do mana base. Falconwrath Noble is just another Blood Artist effect, but helps us to not die to some of our own effects. And finally, Whip of Erebos, which along with giving our creatures lifelink, which is hilarious in interaction with some of our creatures' abilities that will now gain us life as well, but also being able to reanimate creatures like the Lynx should really close the game out quite quickly. The last card at 4 CMC is Rakdos, Lord of Riot, because it's the perfect way to just only ever pay for the colour pips for our spells. And considering we should be drawing 4 cards in a turn, a reduction in cost will massively help with being able to play those spells. At 5 mana value, we've got the Great Unclean One who loses our opponent's life, which, yes, granted it's not on their turn, but making hopefully 3 1/3s a turn isn't too bad. Polluted Bonds to make even playing a lands painful. Brash Taunter for a nice late game damage dealer once our opponents have big creatures out. Or just have it fight our own potentially huge commander and deal damage out that way. And the last card at 5 CMC is probably obvious, but you know it's obvious because it's good, it's Gary. Or the Grey Merchant of Asphodel should be bringing a bunch of life loss and gain to us, which, you know, might be needed so we don't die to our own Mana Barbs triggers. Now, at the high end, there's only 5 cards, but my word, are they worth it. Massacre Worm is surprisingly cheap now, but still a great way to get rid of any small annoying blockers and be a consistent damage ticker whenever a creature dies. Kervek the Merciless is a big mana boy, and hopefully can be helped out by Rakdos making him cheaper, but is still a great card and will usually point the damage at the caster to get the Val trigger, but being able to point it anywhere is just good versatility. Blasphemous Act is still one of the best board wipes in the format, and damage based is just quite frankly perfectly on theme. And finally, Blood for the Blood God should be cast during our opponent's turn after a big board wipe, and they've tried to get rid of our pingers, only for us to draw 8 cards and hit them for 8 damage. Now on to the lands for the deck. Now as I said, we are running quite a few basics, so we personally don't get hit as hard by cards like Price of Progress or the Lynx. But we still have some fixing and some damage dealing lands as well. Canyon Slough, Dragon Skull Summit, and Raucous Theatre, as well as Smouldering Marsh and Sulphurous Springs serves our fixing, with the rest just being basics. Take away from that total, our damage lands. Leech-ridden Swamp is on demand damage after it comes in tapped, so we'll trigger our commander's ability. Same with Mount Doom and Shivan Gorge. Now, we do run Whip of Erebos, so activating Mount Doom's last ability is technically feasible, but that is a stretch to say the least. Overall, Val is just a solid Rakdos damage dealing commander that incentivizes you hitting the table on each of their turns, drawing cards, and then just slapping face with a giant moth demon thing. But the big question is, are they better than Ob Nixilis? No. Are they any more fun to still play though? I would say so, definitely. You get to play big damaging spell effects like Price of Progress or Polluted Bonds. You get to feel good about playing these cards. Okay, yeah. Okay, maybe not good. Maybe you shouldn't feel good about playing these cards. No, you shouldn't feel bad about playing them. Neutral. You should feel neutral about playing these cards. Yeah. Yeah, that's going to be it. Yeah. And that will be the end of the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. What cards are you really excited to put into Val? Let us know in the comments below. We read every single one of them. As always, all Affinity for Commander content is made possible thanks to support of our amazing patrons. You guys are truly awesome. If you too like to become a patron of the channel and get access to exclusive EDH related rewards, then be sure to check out our link in the description box below. You can also support the channel a few other quick and easy ways, liking this video, subscribing, commenting, and following us on your preferred social media platform. But that'll be it from me for now, guys. As always, I've been Alex, and I'll see you next time.